Hind everyone.
Jai Hind.
Great. So today I'm going to unfold a story which weaves into the exciting life of a paratrooper, and it merges the life to one of the mountain summits. Right, so hold on as I explain each and every concept which we are going to use. But to start with, my topic is about static lines to summit heights. And we need to demystify what exactly we mean by static lines. Right, so static line is the line which connects a paratrooper to the aircraft. Now what's a paratrooper? A person who's crazy enough to jump out of a flying aircraft midway with just a parachute is a paratrooper. You need lots of courage. You can well imagine, jumping out of an aircraft. And you need a lot of impatience because the person is not ready to wait till the time the aircraft is down and then get down. Right, so you need both these things to make your life happen as a paratrooper. And this paratrooper behind has a parachute, and the other end of that parachute is a string which is connected to the aircraft, which is called the static line. Now the beauty to understand is that till the time the paratrooper is connected to that static line, life is good. No risk, nothing, everything is safe. But the best part starts once he leaves the aircraft and jumps out. Jumps out into the world of unknown, and that's where the real adventure starts. My journey today is about that adventure once the paratrooper leaves the aircraft and jumps out to the world of unknown. That is from your parlance, the comfort zone of a static line, to the life outside, which is the real world. I'll convey my message in the form of story, and I'll take you back, way back to 1994. That's a long time back. I was that old that time, right? I was 18 and kicking life like 18 till I die. I reached the National Defense Academy. India is one place which is, as tough as it can get. Every day is trial by fire. There's so many things happening. I'm sure you can relate. As I was seeing the students of the college right now, same thing happens there. Lots of hustle happening every now and then. There's academics, there's cross country, there's physical training, there's horse riding, swimming, you name a thing and it is there, right? So in these circumstances, once I reached, I was zapped. I just couldn't cope up because of things which were happening. Within 6 months, I didn't realize the first term was over, like your first semester. The results came and I couldn't believe once I saw the results, my grade point average was 3.00. Anything less than 3.00, I would have had to repeat the term. Luckily, it didn't happen. And just 3.00, I cleared my first term. Came the second term. I worked really hard. Believe me, once I say I worked hard, I really worked hard. Again, the same result. 3 years of NDA, every day was a challenge. And thus, once the results came for 3 years of NDA, my graduation score was a dismal 3rd division in the graduation. I just couldn't believe. The only learning I had about myself after 3 years of NDA was I was horrible in academics, I was bad in cross country, and same was in every other thing. My parents came for the convocation and I couldn't believe my results were so bad. Fast forward 1998, I reached the final year of training at the Indian Military Academy, which is in Dehradun. I thought, now life has to change. Again, I worked hard and I prayed to God that now life has to change at any cost because I couldn't take it any further. Life changed, but unfortunately it changed for the worse. Right? I realized I was bad in academics still. I was still bad in cross country and every other thing which I handled. So I joined the Indian Military Academy mountaineering team. My first expedition was in 1998 as part of the Indian Military Academy team of mountaineering. Listen to this very carefully. Everything was going fine. We were climbing a peak called Kedar Dome in Uttarakhand. We were at the summit camp. Summit camp is the camp which is closest to the summit, right? At that point, something happened which changed my life. There was an avalanche, and next thing I see, there was a dead body in front of me. I was just 21. My first dead body, and I couldn't just believe it. I said, Romil, you're looking for adventure in life, but then the point to understand is that you can only enjoy adventure if you're alive. If you're not alive, there's no adventure at all. At 21, I had this realization. Now in the hindsight, I believe that that was just my shield which kept me away from taking further risks in life. I was so scared that I realized that I've got to be always in a safe mode. And since then, I've always been happy being in just that safe mode always. I just used to scrape through in everything, and that's how I lived my life since then. Fast forward 2010. I was posted in Ranchi. 2010, I came across an article which said that the average lifespan of an individual in India is 68 years. I was halfway there. Halfway there in the life of mediocrity because of the episode which happened earlier. And thus, halfway I had not done anything worthwhile in life. I just couldn't believe. I realized second half will also be over. I'll be 60, 70, whatever age I live. I'll not have any stories to share. I was thinking all this and tears started rolling. I don't know why. I had a good job in the army. I had a good bank balance, good salary. I had a lot of respect outside. But I was not happy. This generation, Gen Z can relate. There's something which was missing in my life. And I thought something has to change. And since then, things have changed. I started working harder. I worked hard, made it to the IIT Kharagpur. For a third division in graduation, thinking about making it to IIT for MTech is a big thing. Believe you me. Or you ask anyone who is a third division in graduation, you will understand. Once I reached IIT KGP, my results were absolutely fantastic. At least from my standard. I published papers in international journals and conferences, and the results came. And since then, whatever I've tried, believe you me, results have come. I started running from NDA cross country, which was horrible in my scores. I participated in the Boston Marathon in the US, the oldest marathon, the most reputed in the world. I represented the Indian Army in the ultra marathons. I was made the captain. Right, ultra marathon is crazy distances. We ran 111 kilometers in Siachen. Right, the race starts close to Siachen, ends in Ladakh. So that's how the kind of transformation which happened. And the only reason this transformation happened, I realized was one. Because now I have a lot of experience, I realized that. Earlier also I used to work hard. Now again, things had changed. Not because of the work hard. The only reason why the transformation happened because now I had a purpose in life. I had decided to be happy and I wanted that things have to change. As they say in life, once you decide the why, the how becomes easy. So ladies and gentlemen, make sure you have some purpose and you know your why, what you're doing about. My second story. Second story is about the highest battlefield in the world. I called it, the name of the story, Avalanche Resilience. We were in Siachen preparing for the Everest because once I started giving results to the army as regards the Adventure Challenge Cup or the ultra marathons, the army realized the potential and I got shortlisted for an expedition to Mount Everest. 1998 was my first expedition, 2018 was my next. 20 years I was in this shield of not doing very well, right? But things changed, as I said. 2018 we were in Siachen, the highest battlefield in the world. We were going for a summit as part of preparation for Everest. Once you're going for Everest, you need to deal with a lot of preliminary climbs. That's what we did. There were 15 of us going. 1, 2, 3, 4. I was the 15th. As a team leader, I was making sure each and every person ahead of me was following the proper drills. And suddenly something happened. There was huge roar breaking the silence of the mountains. And what I saw in front of me, I couldn't believe. There was an avalanche. It's been snowing 3 days before we started the climb. And that's where the avalanche came from. Before I could realize I could turn and run around, the avalanche gripped me. Once inside the avalanche, I don't know what happened. I didn't know where my hand was, where my leg was, where my equipment was. The rucksack was on one side, the helmet had fallen, the goggles had gone to other place. And then I realized, Romil, this was not meant to happen. It was knowing I shouldn't have gone ahead with the team and taken such a risk, but then it was too late. I was thinking in my mind, am I alive? Am I dead? It was a lot of confusion. But then I realized, the moment you are thinking that you are alive or dead, that means you are alive. If you are alive, there is hope. And that's how we came out of the avalanche. But the best part is yet to come. The moment I turned back, I wanted to thank God for saving me, and I realized the biggest shock of my life. There was a second avalanche. The moment second avalanche happened, the thoughts started coming in my mind. I said, Romil, God doesn't want you to be alive. That's why the second one. Otherwise, first avalanche, you would have got your lesson and that would have been the end. But the second avalanche meant this is the end. No, nobody survives an avalanche. My first avalanche, as I was mentioning, in 1998, there was one death. Second avalanche, we had survived. This avalanche, it was really risky to survive. Somehow, same thing happened in my mind. I realized, if I'm able to think so much about life and death, that means I'm alive, there's hope. And frantically, we did whatever we could, and I survived, and I'm in front of you. Now I realize the only reason why we survived that day is not because of anything else. It's just because hope. Ladies and gentlemen, as per the theme of this TEDx, the conversation has to go on. The hope has to be there always. That's why we say in army, you never give up. Rather, you say, never ever give up. Keep the mantra in mind. Right? Because till the time life is there, there's always hope. There's always a situation where you can make a change. That's what happens. Third and final story from the highest place in the world, which is Everest. 8 p.m. 21st of May 2019. We were climbing Everest along with my team. We were at, again, the summit camp. Third story, third summit camp. Summit camp of Everest is at 7,900 to 8,000 meters, also called the death zone. Death zone means if you're not doing anything, if I'm just standing like this, I'm going closer towards death because the body is consuming itself. There's so less oxygen there. And this is that typical day wherein the photograph about a queue, long queue towards Everest became famous. 8 p.m. we started moving and my team realized there was a lot of people climbing that day. And on Everest there's just one single rope which is connecting the base camp to the summit. So you have to climb over there. Once we realized it's becoming too difficult, we unhooked from the rope and started climbing without the support of that rope because we realized there were a lot of people who couldn't train that much and they were slow. Since they were slow and we had to overtake, we started overtaking. One step, second step, third step. That was the pace we are following, right? 1, 2, 3, we started climbing. We were among the first few ones to reach the top of the summit, made it to the top of the world. But in mountaineering, one thing is very clear. Going up is optional. Coming down is mandatory. And that's where the biggest challenge happens. We started getting down after clicking a few pictures from the Everest. And after some time, we reached a place called Hillary Step, which is the bottleneck. So there's very narrow space and that's a very long one. So you have to let one person cross at a time. We had already done the summit. On our way back, we realized, okay, we'll give them another chance. We'll let them come up, live their moment of glory by climbing the summit, and we waited. And we waited. And we waited more because the queue was never ending. There were a lot of people coming one after the other because there were so many people climbing that day. But soon we realized, our mistake. Even if I am not getting down, I am using the oxygen which is there in my backpack. And soon I realized I have already used the oxygen which was there in my tank. Once that thought struck me, we started rushing down. We jostled, made our way through and started getting down. But our luck ran out. Soon I realized my oxygen cylinder was empty. I was not able to breathe. I was getting suffocated. And I tell you, it's a very, very horrible feeling. You're not able to breathe. What else will you do? I realized God wanted me very close. I was as just so close to the God. That is the highest point you can ever be towards the God. And I thought, maybe God wants me there with Him. With these thoughts in my mind, something stuck. I quickly opened my down jacket and I took out this thread. I said a silent prayer in those moments of thin air. And then, as they say in life, truth is stranger than fiction. This thread was given to me by none other than His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And I knew, my belief was, till the time this thread is there with me, nothing will go wrong. I saw one of my team members coming from behind. He had a spare cylinder. He gave it to me. And that's how I am here alive. The only thing which saved me that day was not about immortality. I never understood anything about that. Let me also tell you, I am a pragmatist and I don't believe in any divine intervention. The only thing which saved that day was my belief. My belief in good intentions, good doing and karma. Because that is the only thing I had to hold on at that time. And that is the time you realize the importance of oxygen. So that was my story about my life last 48 years. The 3 stories, but this message is same. The moment you leave the static line is where the magic happens. Adventure is in real sense happens once you leave the static lines. If you're standing there, there's no fun. Once you take the first step out of the static line, you'll have a lot of challenges in life. You'll have a lot of avalanches. You'll be gasping for breath. You'll have physical challenges, mental pressures. But you have to take that step. Because life after that step is a different one. It's a transformation from a mediocrity to a life of excellence. And I wish same for you all. Do take that step once you get that opportunity. Because your transformation will be totally different. Have belief in yourself, believe in karma, and all your things will come true the way you want it to be. You just have to leave the static lines and move towards the mountain summits which are actually so beautiful. Thank you so much. That was my time and I hope I have conveyed something.